Hare Krishna.
Satchitananda Das, Indrapati Das,
Hare Krishna.
and Advaita Das.
See, everybody's Das, just like you, servants.
Yeah, what else can you say?
Okay.
So when I get the TV, can I get it not zoom, but not
You can zoom in on
round,
Vivo.
close up?
Headshot.
Not only head, but not the whole city.
Hare Krishna.
So here we are. Where is
We'll bring it for you, Didi.
okay. Where
You want the book?
is that
Associates, that's Lord Shiva.
that's Lord Shiva?
So.
Wow, lucky. Okay, so Vrindavan, that's what we do is first we say our prayers to call for the help of all the pure devotees to come here in the cyclic succession, to come here and bless us with their power, so that when we speak and hear today, we'll have a lot of mercy, that we'll have some realization of what we're speaking and hearing. So Narottam. Where's Narottam? Can you find Narottam? Right. So together. Ajnanam timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tvadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namah Yam Pravarjantam Anupetamapetakrityam Dvaipayano Virakatarvajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Banedos Tam Sarvabhuta Hridayam Manimanatosmi Bhaktya Vina Aparadalakshay Chittasya Kamadi Tarangamadye Kripamai Tvam Sharanam Prapadyam Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Tavaivasmi Najivami Tambina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tam Nayamam Charanantike. First I offer my unlimited obeisances in the dust of the lotus feet of my most worshipful Diksha Gurudev, Nichalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Astotra Sat Shri Shriman, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, and the same unlimited obeisances in the dust of the lotus feet of my most worshipful Shiksha Gurudev, Nichalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Astotra Sat Shri Shriman, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Balatirtha Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj, Srila Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Doit Madhav Goswami Maharaj, and our Param Gurudev Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, whose appearance day is in just a couple of days, isn't it? Today's Tuesday, so day after tomorrow. We're fortunate. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada and all their divine associates. We're very fortunate today because it is an auspicious day, the birthday or appearance day of Srila Narottam Das Thakur, one of our most prominent acharyas in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. His books and songs, without people even knowing it, all over the world, by the hundreds and thousands, have been so much blessed. Now here is Vrindavan Das, our newest devotee, and he has a great desire to learn Sanskrit. So all these prayers were in Sanskrit. And so I'm asking, praying to all of the senior devotees here that whenever you see Vrindavan, you can always feel comfortable to tell him some Sanskrit prayers or teach him a Sanskrit verse or a song or something like that, or even a couple of words. Thank you. Is that good, Vrindavan?
Yes.
Okay. He's actually very famous in the world, Vrindavan. He's a very famous animal rights activist. He's written books already, published books, has his own website.
That was me and my friend.
And your friend. Great.
But I'm coming out with a new one.
Fabulous. Thank you. So you'll get to know more and more your big brothers here.
The sound is so soft on the computer.
The sound is soft
that's
on the
not
computer.
Actually, like up from here?
No, I'll turn it up here.
Okay.
Okay, great. So first we're going to hear from Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj about the glories of Srila Narottam Das Thakur, who we learn from Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj that even if we wouldn't know anything about him and we just remember his name, we get so much auspiciousness in our life. I know my life has changed significantly since we started observing everybody that comes in on the Vishuddha Chaitanya Vani website and Gurudev's website. Okay. Today is the Tirabhakti of Srila Narottam Das Thakur. He took birth as the son of a king, Raj Krishnananda, in Khetri village. Oh, Khetri is a very famous place. That's where Janava Devi, the consort of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, was presiding over tens of thousands of Vaishnavas. A big festival, she was the main cook, and big kirtan. And when Srila Narottam Das Thakur was singing his kirtan, the whole Panchatattva came, and all
Can't really hear you in the kitchen.
all of Mahaprabhu's associates came and performed kirtan. And then when Srila Narottam Das stopped, then they disappeared. So once, as Sri Chaitanya Dev was passing through the area, he called out, "Narottam! Narottam!" But nobody could understand why. He repeated the name of Narottam Das Thakur, because he had not yet appeared even in the world. He came after Mahaprabhu's disappearance. And that's why in Srila Narottam Das Thakur's song that we sing for everybody's disappearance day, Jayani Lo Premadana, he's lamenting that I didn't get the association of Mahaprabhu or his associates. So, but I'm feeling so much separation that in their absence I want to jump into a fire or kill myself with a rock in my head. So once, when he was around the age of 12, Narottam's mother took him to the Padma River for a bath in the river. Narottam received the prem that Mahaprabhu had deposited there for him. Narottam became overwhelmed in Krishna prem thereafter. After bathing, his dark complexion, he had a dark Krishna complexion, it turned golden, Gauravana. It was Krishna Varna, then it became Gauravana. It's working up there? Thanks. Just like Mahaprabhu's. Bewildered, Narottam's mother wondered what had happened to her child. So he was 12, and during Mahaprabhu's time, we'll probably be reading that in Srila Bhakti Ballabhjita Maharaj's book. Now we'll read how he received, just like our Vrindavan Das. He wasn't interested in anything yesterday when he came over and was already doing devotional services of putting stickers on Prabhupada's books. He said, "Can you tell me who's a Krur?" So never in his life, he desired to go to Vrindavan, but never in his life had he walked on foot. Formerly, because he was the son of a king, he was always carried on a palanquin. So even to take bath, he would go by palanquin, accompanied by musicians. That's how big he was. When he decided to travel to Vrindavan, he did so by foot, and as a result, he got many cuts and wounds on his feet. Along his journey, one person, a Brahmana, offered him some warm milk, saying, "Please take this." And just as he consumed that milk, he was relieved of all his pain and fatigue. It must have been magic milk. It reminds me of 1992 when I was on Parikramma with Srila Gurudev, and I was complaining that my feet were, walking on these hard petals and thorns and stuff. So Gurudev said, "Just keep doing it, and one day this land will turn into butter. It will be so soft for you." Eventually he reached Vrindavan, and there he studied the Vaishnava scriptures under the tutelage of none other than Srila Jiva Goswami. His fellow pupils were Srinivasacharya and Shamananda Prabhu. On behalf of the Visva Vaishnava Raj Sabha, which means the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Narottam received the title Thakur Mahasaya, while Srinivas got the title Acharya. Visva, the universe, or the world, or international. Vishva Vaishnava, the Krishna conscious people. Raj, Vaishnava Raj, not so the International Society for the devotees who have that Krishna consciousness, which we want to join. Gurudev said we want to join that mission. So the first person who started the Visva Vaishnava Raj Sabha was Srila Rupa Goswami, coming down from the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. And then he made Srila Jiva Goswami the first president. Then it came down, down, down. Then it became Gaudiya Math and Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti and International Society for Krishna Consciousness and other institutions started by Prabhupada's godbrothers and our Prabhupada, and then International Pure Bhakti Yoga Society and others.
Can I say?
Yes, you may.
Okay. So,
Can you turn the TV?
so play the kitchen. The Vishwa Vaishnava Raj Sabha, it's like the royal court. The kings of Vaishnavism, that's not to be arrogant or conceited, but they would role play, and one person would come, and there would be Bhakti Sri Maharaj would hold these meetings every year in different places, and so many Vaishnava Thakurs would come, and they would role play. So you present Advaita, and you defeat it. Now you bring Vishishta Advaita, and then you show the superiority of Achintya Vedaveda. And you bring Shuddha Advaita, and you show
the other sampradayas.
The superiority of Achintya Vedaveda and all the other Dvaita, Dvaita, and Dvaita, and show the good sides and the bad, because there's nothing good to say about my mind. But so, and they would discuss this and show and then someone would say, yes, but, and they would chew it out, every verse and every commentary, and establish the superiority. The king of tattvas is Achintya Vedaveda.
Thank you. Beautiful. Once, following a dream, Narottam Das Thakur went to an abandoned granary. What's a granary?
Where they keep grains.
They keep grains. Silo. Belonging to a brahmana, and asked for permission to access it, despite being forewarned that nobody dared to venture there, as the place was infested with many poisonous serpents. Narottam affirmed that he didn't mind. He was not harmed by any snakes as he entered, and there he discovered 6 deities who were actually being guarded by those poisonous serpents. Not anybody was qualified to get those deities. The 6 deities discovered were Sri Gauranga Dev, Sri Balabhikanta, Sri Braj Mohan, Sri Radhakanta, and Sri Radharaman, and Sri Krishna. When Narottam turned to Janavamata for guidance, because she was like the chief of all the Vaishnavas. When I was about 20 or so, I asked Prabhupada, can girls also preach? And he said, oh yes, Janava Devi, after Nityananda Prabhu's departure from the vision of the world, Janava became the leader of all the Vaishnavas, and she used to chastise all the unscrupulous Vaishnavas. So Narottam turned to Janavamata for guidance about these 6 deities, and she said, these deities are self-manifest, and hence no formal installation or pran pratishta in Sanskrit is necessary. Only Maha Abhishek need be performed. Means big bathing ceremony, like with yogurt and those nice things. Invite Srinivasacharya to perform the Maha Abhishek, while Shamananda, Ramchandra Kaviraj, and you do the service of performing the kirtan. Invite all the Vaishnavas in and around Gauda Mandala, Chaitra Mandala, and Braj Mandala, and befittingly arrange everything. Although Narottam was a prince, he had bequeathed his throne to his cousin Santosh. So it was King Santosh who made all the arrangements, very clever, for the grand festival, including prasad seva, donations, accommodation for all the Vaishnavas, and Janavamata, who is Annapurna. When Prabhupada named one of his disciples Annapurna, he said Annapurna, Anna means grains, one who's very expert at distributing foodstuffs. And here, Srila Maharaj makes the meaning, one who provides nectar-like food and nourishing care to the body and soul. So she herself took up the responsibility of preparing the entire bhoga for the deities. You can imagine, she's, the power of Nityananda, who's the source of all incarnations. So how easy it would be for her to cook all the bhoga for all the thousands of Vaishnavas. So being Annapurna, just by her overseeing everything, there would be no scarcity. Because she's the power of the creation of the universes. Under the auspicices of Janama Mata, all the great Vaishnavas were seen off, and in a befitting manner by King Santosh. Massive cement tanks were constructed in which khichdi, rice, dal, curries, kheer were separately stored. In the earlier days during Parikrama time, as our mutt vessels were not so large, we also used to use these cement tanks for storing the cooked food. A big one would be used for rice and dal, and the smaller ones for mixed vegetable curry, chutney, and so on. What is that? What's a cement tank?
What?
What is a cement tank?
Cement, just like a pool.
Oh, a tank means like a place that you can put water if you
Not
want
the
to
kind with
swim.
guns. No.
Huh?
Not a Sherman
A
tank.
tank.
Not a Sherman
They
tank.
call it a tank. Yeah.
A tank like, the
Like
place
a
where...
water tank.
Water tank,
Yeah.
yeah. But you don't put water in it, you put food grains, food.
Another kind of granary.
Another kind of granary.
Were you there when we were going to buy the Hamilton house
Where?
in New York? It was owned by Alexander Hamilton.
What year?
66
Oh no.
or 7. We couldn't afford it. But there was a beautiful townhouse. Behind it
Was
was
that on 10th Street?
a secret,
On 10th Street?
somewhere like there.
Yeah.
It's where the streets go diagonal. So behind it was a secret armory. And it was this big
You
round
kindly take the mic
stone-
so Champa can hear.
Oh, for the cooks, they need to know.
They need.
All kinds of radiation coming at it. So behind Alexander Hamilton's house was a big round stone structure where they kept secretly arms for the revolution, the American Revolution. That was a landmark building. So, but that's what these granaries look like. A
Okay.
big round thing, and they
Thank you.
fill it from the top and then take it up from the bottom.
Wow, interesting. So they have that at the festival. Massive cement tanks were constructed, or they made them themselves. Constructed, we discussed that, khichdi, rice, dal, and the big ones, and chutneys, and mixed vegetable curry, and the small ones. So Srila Bharati Maharaj is saying that during his Parikrama time, they did the same thing that Janama did.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Those deities were self-manifested. So who attributed them their names?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
You said one of them was Radharaman?
Radharaman,
Radhakanta?
Radhakanta. Hmm?
Same Radharaman?
No.
Oh, different Radharaman.
It's not Gopalabhatta's right.
No. But he was also self-manifest, yeah.
And where was that place again?
This place is, actually, here it doesn't say what city that was. Maybe in Srila Bhakti Balatirtha Maharaj's book it will say. So, even to this day, see this is the Khetri festival that I mentioned earlier. So the festival took place in Khetri, which made me think that it's somewhere near there, but let's see if we get any additional information. So this is the very famous Khetri Mahotsav, where Janamadevi was the presiding host and deity, and where Narottam Das Thakur, by his singing, Mahaprabhu and all of his associates joined them. And when he stopped singing, you can imagine his singing, they all disappeared.
First festival after Mahaprabhu's disappearance, right?
The first big festival?
Yes. Khetri.
It was the first
Uh-huh.
Purnim festival.
50 years. after
Uh-huh.
Mahaprabhu's.
It has been told that this picture of Panchatattva is how they appeared at the Kirtan Mahotsav.
Who's it been told by?
Huh?
Who's it been told by?
Me. Having heard it from so many. Because you see, there's Arati power. This is the first time when Mahaprabhu and Janava installed and has created, she's our Acharya of the Archanam, of and the Krama. Those were all decided there at this station.
The crumb of the songs?
Of the
bhajans?
and also the
Procedures of the...
Panchatattva.
Puja.
Yeah.
Oh, the puja.
And the Krama, that is Guru, Radha Krishna, and many other things were declared there.
She's very influential in our line.
In Wikipedia, it
I would
says
really like to see a portrait. Do you know any painters?
No, I don't.
But you'll see this, because in that picture there, they're stated very formally.
Yeah, this is the second painting Prabhupada ever had me copy. It was from this print, and it has all the arti paraphernalia at the feet of the Lord, and the whole Panchatattva. Yes, Endapati Prabhu?
according to Wikipedia, and I've heard this before, but I have to look up the reference. But after Mahaprabhu left, it took some time for...
Did you take the mic for Champak?
Now everybody, I've looked at their paintings, oh, that's the Keshari.
Wow.
So, just like in the history of Christianity, so when Jesus left, there was a period at which the first disciples were outnumbered. The first disciples of Jesus were outnumbered by everyone. Nowadays there's more Christians than anyone else, but after Jesus left, there was a very small number of followers of Jesus. And during those early years, there was a time when the complete conception of who was Jesus, and this idea that Jesus was God, King, and so that wasn't something that happened immediately after Jesus left. It took some time due to various influences. And so the Christian theology developed gradually over the following decades. And it wasn't until maybe 100 years later that the Gospels were written. 100 years after Jesus is gone. So, of course, in the case of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there were his biographers were there, right there. So there wasn't a need for people hearing 100 years ago nothing was written. Everything came right after Mahaprabhu.
Yeah, we're so lucky.
Yeah.
Raghunath Das Goswami, Swarup Damodar,
Yeah.
Krishnadas Kaviraj.
But there was some, as far as I understand, some points which required some clarification, and the theology had some, adjustments. Of course, there was many upper sampradayas that came after Mahaprabhu also. So it's said that at this festival of Kechuri was when all the Vaishnavas came together and they kind of solidified what is our theology, what is the position of the Panchatattva. Because there wasn't we say Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, but this wasn't like a common thing. Right after Mahaprabhu left, it came a little later that they established who is Srivas Thakur. Because there were different opinions of who is Nityananda. Like we know that there were some persons who were very much devoted to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but they didn't have so much affection or respect for Nityananda Prabhu. So at this festival was when they kind of congealed the whole, what we practice nowadays in our conceptions, who is the Panchatattva, all the different expansions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the different processes of worship and deity worship procedures and so forth. So
that was written by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj.
Krishnadas Kaviraj, he wrote the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami didn't meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as far as I know, and he didn't have any direct knowledge of Mahaprabhu's pastimes, that he got them from Raghunath Das Goswami.
And
Sri Damodar Goswami's notes. I don't know if he meant Sri Damodar. So anyway, of course, this is all a long time ago, it's like 500 years ago. But there is one book about Narottam Das's life. It's called Narottam Vilas, Prem Vilas, and it has some details about the things that happened after Mahaprabhu left and how the Gaudiya Vaishnavism was spread throughout India. So,
thank you for that. So then Srila Maharaj discusses Srila Narottam Das's natural humility. Govinda Kaviraj, the brother of Ramchandra Kaviraj, is famous for his kirtan Bhajahure Mana Sri Nandanandana. That Govinda Kaviraj was previously a Shakta, worshipper of Shakti or Kali, Durga. When he fell ill, Ramchandra Kaviraj desired that his brother should have the remembrance of Bhagavan toward the end of his life. So he prayed to Srila Narottam Das Thakur, because they were very good friends, Ramchandra Kaviraj and Narottam Das. You are a Parama Vaishnava. By your desire, my brother will attain the mercy of Bhagavan. For his auspiciousness, kindly recite the Srimad Bhagavatam for him. Srila Narottam Das Thakur, what is the next page? Srila Narottam Das Thakur. Oh my God, what is the next page? We were left in suspense. They don't have page numbers. I think we need to ask them if they could put page numbers. I don't know what happened then.
Where are you?
Huh?
Where are you?
Oh, here's another page. Wait. Nope.
Is this
Where am I?
top?
This is from Srila Bhakti
I haven't-
Bigyan Parvati Goswami Maharaj.
Which section are you on?
I'm on natural humility. And I don't see anything on these papers that looks like the next
What was the
sentence.
last thing you said?
Yeah.
I said, so he asked Srila Narottam Das Thakur to recite Srimad Bhagavatam for his brother. And then it says Srila Narottam Das Thakur something.
However, not considering himself a Vaishnava.
Can you come here? Or let the TV go there. But you can come here.
It says, Srila Narottam Das Thakur, however, not considering himself a Vaishnava, called for Srinivasacharya through a handwritten letter and requested him to recite the Srimad Bhagavatam to Govinda Kaviraj. Whoa.
There, and I'll turn.
By hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, Govinda Kaviraj was transformed and his kirtan sprang forth from his lips and he became a Vaishnava. After the Keturi festival, Srinivasacharya came to Vrindavan along with Ramachandra Kaviraj. When we visit Vrindavan, we see that alongside the samadhi of Srinivasacharya is the samadhi of his intimate servitor, Ramachandra Kaviraj. Doesn't say it here, but also in the same samadhis is Hemalata Thakurani.
And who's Hemalata Thakurani?
The daughter of Srinivasacharya? Or niece? Niece?
The niece of Srinivasacharya is Hemalata Thakurani. Good, okay, so then comes...
Arjuna? You got that right?
Yeah, you can read it.
Can I ask something before we carry on? Did he mention how Narottam Das Thakur crossed over from that princely order or kingly
Well,
order into Vaishnava?
I think we'll find that out in the
Okay. I
subsequent
didn't miss
reading. You didn't miss it, no.
that. Okay.
Do you want to continue?
Mm-hmm.
Himalata is a daughter of Srinivasa.
Daughter of Srimati Syamarani.
Daughter. Thank you.
Malata's daughter.
So we're hearing from Advaita Prabhu that Hemalata is Thakurani, is the daughter of Srinivasacharya. Thank you. So now we go to the section called Prarthana and Prem Bhakti Chandrika, two very nectarian rasic books of his. In the mood of great separation, on the disappearance day of Ramchandra Kaviraj, the two great works sprang from the lotus mouth of Narottam Das Thakur. One is Prem Bhakti Chandrika, and the other one is Prarthana. These scriptures were widely printed, so much so that they followed just after the publication scale of the Bhagavad Gita. That's how popular they are. In his childhood, our Param Gurudev Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada never used to study school books, and instead spent his time studying spiritual scriptures. The kirtans of Narottam Das Thakur were his life and soul, and he remembered them all word for word. Gurudev used to criticize these Westerners, they don't know the songs by heart, they have to look at the book. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur wrote a commentary in Sanskrit on Prem Bhakti Chandrika and wrote this verse. Oh my goodness. This is the verse that we all say every day. Om Agyanam Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. My respectful obeisances are unto him. In Sri Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur Astakam, Srila Narottam Prabhur Astakam. So, Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur wrote in Astakam 8 verses in glorification of Srila Narottam Das Thakur, called Narottam Prabhur Astakam. He wrote that the kirtans of Srila Narottam Das Thakur are as authoritative as the Vedas, and our Prabhupada said that too. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur is no ordinary personality himself, for he composed many Vaishnava scriptures and has been the object of receiving Srimati Radhika's grace. Now we'll hear about Srila Narottam Das Thakur's divine departure. At one point, after great preaching endeavor, Srila Narottam Das Thakur stopped speaking altogether. At that time, people began to comment saying, oh, because he wrongly accepted Brahmanas as his disciples, he has become dumb. Then the disciples of Srila Narottam Das Thakur beseeched him, O Prabhu, you appeared in this world to bestow auspiciousness for all living entities, because he wasn't born in a Brahmin family. He's a prince, his father's a king. So how dare he initiate those in the higher caste of Brahmanas? So then he was being criticized. Well, now he can't speak anymore because he committed this offense. So then his disciples begged him, you appeared in this world to give auspiciousness to the living entities, but by committing offenses to your lotus feet, these blasphemers will be led to hell, and your purposes will not be achieved. So please be merciful and start speaking again. Thus, he began again singing kirtans, and all those atheists who were blaspheming him, they also became his disciples and sought forgiveness for their offenses. Such wonderful pastimes he exhibited. Finally once, while bathing in the Ganges, his transcendental body melted and transformed into milk. The samadhi that is present in the premises of Vrindavan's Gokulananda temple is his Pushpa Samadhi, right? Because his body is just milk. Such is his extraordinary character. Today, Sri Maharaj, today we will distribute halava in honor of his titi. Well, let's have halava today. Okay, and the pipe.
Too late, the offering's due, I know.
Too late, what about dinner?
Can ask Vedanta Sutra to me.
Okay. Can you ask him? He'll listen to you. Now the kirtaniyas should begin singing kirtans. So there's one verse in this Narottam Prabhur Astakam. This is verse 7, and Srila Maharaj is quoting it. Yad bhakti nistopala rekeva sparsha sparshamani vayasha pramaniyam eva shuti bhadyadiyam tasmai nama shunarotamaya. I offer respectful obeisances to Srila Narottam Das Thakur. His firm faith and devotional service to Krishna is like a necklace of precious stones. His touch is like a touchstone. Anyone he touches by his mercy, their heart becomes like gold. His words are like the 4 Vedas. So amazing. Because coming from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who's also so amazing, we know this must be authorized. So, this is a very funny story, headed called Ordinary Scholars. Oh, preaching through kirtan. Srinivasa Acharya decided to remain in Vishnupur while instructing Narottam and Shamananda. Preach whatever you have learned through the medium of kirtan. Oh, this is because the 3 of them were together and they were bringing all the scriptures, which was handwritten and hand-copied of the Goswami's literatures. You all know this history. They were carrying it on a cart, and they went to sleep, and King Virahambir, he had an astrologer who told him, even though he was like a devotee, he was also like a thief. He had these different sanskars. So he asked his astrologer what was happening, and the astrologer told him that these 3 mendicants, saints, they had a chest full of jewels. So Virahambir Maharaj told his thugs to steal it, and then when he saw it, he thought, oh, just books? So he kept it aside, and then Srinivasa Acharya, he just was they were all mortified. And Srinivasa Acharya told the other 2, that is Narottam and Shamananda, I'm not going to leave this place until those books are discovered. But there's no need for all of us to stay. I will simply leave my body in this place if before I die I don't find those books. Because he was personally feeling great repentance, thinking, my Guru Varga dispatched me. He was the chief of those who were responsible, and I let them down by sleeping out of laziness. He was actually Gopal Bhatta Goswami's disciple, but because he had studied the Shastras under Jiva Goswami, he considered Jiva Goswami as his guru as well. So then he told them, you go, you all go. I will remain in Vishnupur. You 2 go and preach whatever you have learned through the medium of kirtan. He also preached via kirtan using his Manohara Sai melody. Oh, Shri Radha Govinda ki jai, Shri Gauranitai ki jai, Shri Giriraj Govardhana ki jai ho. All 3 preached through different kirtan melodies. Through Narottam's preaching, the entire region of Manipur they all became Vaishnavas. The whole state became a Vaishnava state. Shyamananda also did a lot of preaching, and both had to face opposition. However, those who opposed them eventually surrendered.
Didi,
Yeah,
did you mean they were preaching with different styles?
different melodies of kirtan. So you see in our songbook, sometimes you see at the end of the kirtan it says, this song is sung in such and such a rag. Do you have anything to say about that?
I never bothered to.
Okay.
Because I didn't want too much music, and people have to learn ragas or scales or just to sing. How did they find that the books were with the king?
Because he was going everywhere. Srinivasacharya was going everywhere. And Srinivasa Prabhu was asking how did they find out that the books were with the king. So Srinivas was going everywhere. So he came to the king's palace while they were hearing Brahma Geet or Gopi Geet, I forget which. And whoever was reciting, he had no mood at all and he didn't understand. So people weren't really getting the thing as it is. So he asked, can I please explain it? And the king said, sure. So when he explained it, the whole assembly was overwhelmed and weeping, and he was weeping. And so the king wanted to become his disciple. So he said, okay. And but the king said, well, what can I do to give you as pranami? I want to offer you everything. He said, well, if you can just find the books that were stolen. So then the king said, oh, that was me. Immediately got the books. So, Srila Gurudev tells that story sometimes. So, there were Smarta Brahmins. Smarta Brahmins, they're not Vaishnavas, they just are in the materialistic for going to the heavenly planets, parts of the Vedas. And only somebody who's born as a Brahmin can be a Brahmin. So it's not real Brahmanism. It's caste Brahmanism. It's not real because it's not by quality. So they were all against Narottam Das Thakur, and they complained to their king. Their king's name was Nrsingadev, who was very influential. That Narottam, despite being the son of a king, a kayastha, or in the administrative class, and therefore everybody was turned to be a Vaishnavas. Vaishnava and the Smartas, they don't agree on philosophy or methodology. So both had to face opposition. However, who opposed them. So the Smarta Brahmins, they complained to the king. They said he's just giving mantra to everybody, including the Brahmanas, so he should be called to a debate. That is, he's giving mantras to Sudras and to Brahmanas, and he's a Kayastha. So the disciples of Narottam Das Thakur, like Ganga Narayan, Chakravarti, Ramakrishna Bhattacharya, and others, went to Rajasahi, where the debate was to take place. So one disciple disguised himself as a potter. They all went to the village and pretended they were shopkeepers, while another posed as a tambul shopkeeper. He sells betel and other spices, nutmeg, cardamom. And some others disguised themselves as grocery store keepers. So they set up this whole shop in the village where the debate was going to take place. So when the servants of these pundits arrived there to make purchases, the servants of the people who were going to be debating, because the pundits, they would only, this is part of their smarta rule, they would only eat foodstuffs that they themselves had cooked. But the servants, they went to buy things for themselves. So they observed the disguised disciples of Srila Narottam Das Thakur interacting with each other and speaking Sanskrit in a very refined manner. Hearing their interactions and being unaware that these were actually the disciples of Narottam Das and not mere townsfolk, the servants reported to the Pandits that even the potters and pond makers in the village are greatly learned, eminent scholars. So hearing this, the Pandits felt nervous even to approach them for a debate and abruptly left. In this way, Narottam Das's disciples foiled the attempts of the opposing party. And Srila Gurudev also tells this Leela, and he adds a few little details. Vasanti, do you think you could find where that pastime is? Because the pastime of the disciples of Srila Narottam Das Thakur disguising themselves as pot makers, pond makers, spice sellers. I believe so. Because then, maybe I'm wrong. Because then when the so-called shopkeepers were asking them, so where are you from? Who are you? And they would give their bodily designation, and then these so-called shopkeepers would prove to them that they're not their body. So they were just completely nervous. It's not there? Okay, maybe it's in another lecture. So, on the order of Srila Jiva Goswami, this is in Gurudev's lecture also, Srila Narottam Das approached Srila Lokanath Das Goswami for Diksha. Because Jiva Goswami said, I'm not giving Diksha, go to Lokanath Das Goswami. So Lokanath Das Goswami had also vowed never to take disciples. So he told him that he told him, look, you're a prince, and it's not fitting for you to take Diksha from me. I'm not qualified to take disciples. So then Narottam really wanted to follow the order of Srila Jiva Goswami. So he was so determined that one night, in the pitch black middle of the night, he went to the place. In fact, every night he would go to the place where Srila Lokanath Das Goswami would go to the international bathroom in the forest. And he would clean that place where he had passed very beautifully, and he put cow dung and swept there. And so Lokanath Das Goswami started getting suspicious. So one night in the middle of the night, he was standing guard and waiting for that person to come. And when Narottam Das came, he grabbed his arm, and Narottam started crying. He said, who are you and why are you doing this? He said, I'm your servant and I want to serve you. I want you to accept me. So seeing his sincerity, that this big prince, son of a king, Krishnananda, Raj Krishnananda, he's doing this menial service, so he said, okay, I'll initiate you. And then he initiated him. And then the two of them did a pastime together, because they had their bhajan kutirs together, that by the will of the Lord, a farmer came and he wanted water from Lokanath Das Goswami. But Lokanath Das Goswami was in trance, and so he didn't hear him. So then the farmer went to Srila Narottam Das Thakur, and he was in external consciousness, but he was doing bhajan. And so he got up and gave the farmer some water, and then went back to his bhajan. So when Lokanath Das Goswami, because he's Trikala Gyan, pure devotees know everything, so he called for him and he said, so, you were sitting there serving Radha and Krishna. You don't know that Radha and Krishna's names are non-different from them? You think it's more important, instead of serving Radha and Krishna in the form of their name, to serve this ordinary farmer? Then that shows that you don't have any qualification for living in Vrindavan. So it's better if you go back to your hometown, go back and live with your king father, and be a prince and go preach from there. So Narottam was weeping and weeping and begging, but he wouldn't let him stay. So then he went everywhere and traveled and preached and made so many disciples for his Guru Maharaj. And then he also wrote that beautiful song that we sing regularly. What is it called? Shri Guru Charana Pama. And then Lokanath Lokera Jivana. And Srila Gurudev gives a lecture on that song, saying this song is for gurus on the level of Lokanath Das Goswami, who was maidservant of Srimati Radhika. And then so here Srila Bharati Maharaj also tells that story. He says that he was subjugated, Lokanath Goswami was subjugated by the sincere service mood of Narottam Das. He said, what an ideal Narottam demonstrated, that it's so powerful that it subjugates even Bhagavan and his pure devotees. Srila Gurudev was telling just today about how Sannyasi Thakur approached Paramahamsa Premdas Babaji. He was already realized in the impersonal school, Aham Brahmasmi. But then he went to Vrindavan. He in his travels, he would defeat everybody, but then he saw a Vaishnava dancing in ecstasy and falling down like a rod and trying to pick himself up and falling down again. How many more minutes do we have, Gaur?
Till 12:30.
12:30, okay. And so then he realized he's so happy. I'm not experiencing any happiness in comparison with my Aham Brahmasmi, even though I have so much realization and I'm so famous and so learned in all the scriptures. So then he went to Vrindavan and he heard from all the Vaishnavas that if you want to, he became so attractive, and he heard from all of them that if you want to take shelter anywhere, go to Premdas Babaji in Navadvip. So he came all the way to Navadvip, and when he met Premdas, Premdas was in the middle of chanting his 2 lakhs rounds, that's 128 rounds, weeping, rolling, hair standing on end. And he also used to read Prem Vivart. That's Bodhicha. Can you tell her? Oh, she talked to you. Okay. Alright, so where are we?
Prem Vivart.
Yeah, so he used to speak on Prem Vivart, which is by Jagannanda Pandit, the classmate of Mahaprabhu. And he would bring in Srimad Bhagavatam, Ujjvala Nilamani, Gopi Geet, Venu Geet, everything, in his speaking about Prem Vivart. And he would weep and everybody would weep. So when Sannyasi Thakur approached him, he fell at his feet, Satsang Pranam, and meanwhile, Premdas Babaji wasn't even aware that he was there. And then he was weeping, and then Premdas saw him, and he offered him Satsang Pranam, and they were both weeping, and then Sannyasi Thakur said, don't cheat me, I know who you are, and I'm such a fallen wretch, Mayavadi, please give me your shelter. And Premdas offered him a seat made out of a banana leaf, which he was also sitting on, and they were both weeping and praising each other. So Gurudev said, this is the way to approach a Vaishnava in such surrender. So then Srila Maharaj continues, Oh, he's talking about. Okay, this is not about him, this is about Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. I think we did do everything. Yes, we did everything in that. So Srila Bharati Maharaj Ki Jai. And now does Gurudev have anything else in his lecture that's different? That's additional, not different.
Usually the very last, couple paragraphs.
The last paragraphs. Which one? Where he's talking about Srila Guru Govinda Maharaj?
Yeah, about some Saraswati Thakur and Operating Calcutta.
I'm sorry? Starting from where we should understand?
We should understand about why Lokanath Das Goswami.
What?
Why did Lokanath Das Goswami send his disciple away?
Away. It's just to establish his glory. Actually, he wanted him to go preach everywhere, and is to establish what is bhajan, number one. Number two, to establish his glory, because Gurudev said, in this day and age, if the Guru were to chastise somebody, a disciple, then the disciple would go on the internet and say, this Guru was not bona fide. But rather, he went and made hundreds of thousands of disciples to glorify his Gurudev. So what is the point here?
For what?
The point for what? Who told me to go to this paragraph?
Me.
Starting from where?
Well, I was just thinking that it was a good point. Because
Which one?
He was saying Bhakti told Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada not to go to Calcutta, and he went to Calcutta.
Where is that?
Last few pages.
Oh, this would help you in this answer, I think. So, here. Here, it's this page. I wish we had a few more hours, my goodness. These people have too much glories. Okay, so here. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, though he was restricted not to go to Kaliraj there, Calcutta, he went there and began to preach there. From there, he began to preach throughout the whole world. He collected devotees like Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, and also our Guru Maharaj and others from Kolkata. If he had not started his preaching from there, no one would have come to take the shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's beautiful Siddhanta. So we cannot say that he disobeyed his Gurudev. In this way, we cannot say that Srila Narottam Das Thakur disobeyed his Guru. In fact, he fulfilled the manobhista, or internal desire, of his divine grace. We should always try to reconcile these apparent contradictions. Sometimes pure disciples act like this. What did he do that didn't follow his Guru? The Santu. Yeah, he left, but he didn't go home. He went and preached.
But he saw that he had compassion. So he said, if you see this compassion, then go.
Yeah, you're so compassionate for a farmer, but go and show your compassion and giving charity back home. Here, Narottam Das Thakur. Let me go back. Okay, so all present were charmed by his kirtan. This was one of the biggest festivals, the Kheturi festival, in the history of Vaishnavism. All present were charmed on hearing the sweet songs of Narottam, and all of them were blessed with the darshan of Radha and Krishna. They also appeared, and Mahaprabhu, who came to hear these sweet melodies. So, Narottam was the best devotee of his time. He's an associate of Radha and Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In fact, he's a manifestation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's why he turned golden, because Mahaprabhu left the praying at that river, and when he bathed in the river, he became golden. So, by sending, here's the answer to your question, Indupadi. By sending Narottam Thakur back to his village, he played a trick. And by that trick, he sent him to preach all over the world. Had he not done so, no such preaching would have been done. All preaching would have been destroyed. So they're all working in tricky ways together. If he had continued to request Narottam to sit and chant Harinam in his kutir, there would have been no such great preaching. Because Lokanath Das Goswami, he never went out. He just stayed there. So you can look at the example of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur and Srila Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Srila Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj was a follower of Lokanath Das Goswami, never wanting name and fame and so on. He just kind of stayed as a recluse. He always chanted Harinam and used to sing in the deepest moods, with tears in his eyes. Oh Radhe, Prema Mai, Radhe, Radhe, where are you? He could not live without remembering Srimati Radhika. So he told him not to go to Calcutta, but if he didn't go to Calcutta, we wouldn't have had all this great preaching all over the West, in fact. So there are so many incidences described in the Bhagavatam of apparent contradictions. Like when the gopis, when Krishna played his flute, Prasanti, can you always put page numbers at the bottom of the pages? When you print. Yes. Because I'm just, unconsciously throwing papers all over the place. So when the gopis came, because Krishna was playing the flute and calling them, when they arrived, he said to them, "Oh, what are you doing here? Have you come to see the garden? Has something inauspicious happened in your home, and therefore you've come here? Well, if you've come just to see the garden, now you've seen it, the gardens of the forest. Now you can go home. Because the best thing is to serve the husband, and it doesn't look very good for young, beautiful, slender-waisted girls to be out here in the middle of the night with a young unmarried man." So then they said to him, "Actually, you're giving us such good instruction, we accept you as our guru. And we know that you have to first serve Guru before you serve husbands, even before you serve God. First comes Guru. So we're gonna serve you right here. And if you don't accept our service, then, because we've also heard that you're God, even though we don't believe it, but if you don't accept our service, then you'll be guilty of lying, and you'll have to incur sin and go to hell, because in the Bhagavad Gita we heard you said that as they surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. So if you don't reward us accordingly, then you'll have to incur sin." So this kind of like trickery, instructions, but he didn't mean it. So we should understand Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Narottam Das Thakur in this same way. They never disobeyed their gurus. Rather, they, quote unquote, more than obeyed them. Sometimes Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj writes in his books one thing in one place and other things in another place. You may find this in many places, but it should be reconciled. For example, he wrote that the soul falls from Goloka Vrindavan. In other places, he said no one can ever fall from Goloka Vrindavan. So there's an apparent contradiction. So which statement do we want to follow? Don't try to follow him by your own intelligence. It's best to read his books with the understanding that his conclusion must be the same as Jiva Goswami's, Rupa Goswami, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. If one of his two statements is contradicting, then you follow that statement which doesn't contradict. Because that's his real mood, because he can never really think anything different, just like Jiva Goswami can never think anything different than Rupa Goswami. He's the only one Rupa Goswami accepted as his Diksha disciple. So how could Rupa Goswami write that Radha and Krishna and the gopis are Parakiya Bhav, and he write that they're Swakiya Bhav? It's because he wasn't writing his own intention. He was writing to bring those foolish people, his less qualified disciples, to gradually bring them to not disrespect Radha Krishna's Parakiya mood. If they hear that they're married, then they'll come and respect them and serve, and gradually later come to understand Parakiya. So very interesting how when it looks like the guru is saying one thing and the disciple is saying another thing, or the pure devotee, disciple, guru contradicts himself, it's all for very special reasons, and the only way we can understand those reasons is how, Gaura Krishna Prabhu, in sadhu sangha, from another elevated Vaishnava, he can reconcile everything. Also, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Now all the papers are all over the place. Is it time? Is it time for Arti? Well, then we'll end here and hear more later at some point in universal time. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Radha Govinda ki jai, Shri Gaur Sai ki jai, Shri
Yasomachinandana Rajavarunagana Govinda Mata
Kripa Moya. Sarasika Kripa Moya. Shri Radha Baba Vrindavana Nagavara. Shri Radha Baba Vrindavana Nagavara. Bhakti Yoga Shaya. Bhakti Yoga Shaya. Srimati
Hare Krishna, Krishna Bhakti Goswami Maharaj की जय Nityalila Purishtam Vishpashra Bhakti Bhagavad Puri Goswami Maharaj ki jai Nityalila Purishtam Vishpashra Bhakti Bhagavad Tirtha Goswami Maharaj ki jai Nityalila Purishtam Vishpashra Bhakti Taitmara Goswami Maharaj ki jai Nityalila Purishtam Vishpashra Bhakti Jitendra Goswami Maharaj ki jai Nityalila Purishtam Vishpashra Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj ki jai Nityalila Purishtam Vishpashra Bhai Charan Arvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai Jai Shri Acharya Keshari Nityalila Purishtam Vishpashra Bhakti Pragyan Keshari Goswami Maharaj ki jai Sapasya Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai Srila Gaur Krishnadas Goswami Maharaj ki jai Sattam Goswami Satchidananda Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai Vaishnava Sarvabhaum Shri Jagannatha Babaji Maharaj ki jai Srila Bhari Vijayabhushan Prabhu ki jai Srila Vishnacha Chakravartha Gaur ki jai Sri Narottama Srinivashananda Puri ki jai Sri Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami ki Sri Narottam Das Thakur Shiva Vibhakti Ki Mahotsav ki jai Sri Krishna Maho Madhurotsav ki jai Mahamahotsav ki jai Sri Purnima ki jai Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhakti Raghunatha Shri Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunatha Shri Krishna Prabhu ki jai Shri Rup Damara Ramananda Hare Gopal Shri Vindi ki jai Ramachay Shri Maharaj Thakur ki jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Radha Radha Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakti Vindi ki jai Shri Nauri Dham Vrindavan Dham Nilachla Dham ki jai Sri Maharani Binda Devi ki jai Jogamaya Purnima Sri Devi ki jai Bhakti Devi ki jai Shri Gopti Shri Mahadev ki jai Shri Bharadev ki jai Shri Jagannath Bari Subrasura Sindhu ki jai Missionary Bhakti Prahlad Maharaj ki jai Harinam Sankirtan ki jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vindi ki jai Bhakti Bhakti Vindi ki jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi
Om Vrindai Tulsi
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get that Lord.
Hey, go.
How you going? What's your name?
On news, I'm still trying to remember it.
No.
Vrindavan.
Vrindavan Das. Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
What's your name?
Oh, well, you're new, so I won't, but it's Dina Bandu, if you remember that. My name is Dina Bandu.
Dina Bandu.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, Vrindavan Das.
Vrindavan.
Vrindavan. Do you like it?
What?
You like it?
Yes.
Me too. I like that name. I think Vrindavan's a good name.
Yeah.
Hey, Hare Krishna, Guruji, happy birthday.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. Was it good?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
nice.
was Dina Bandhu's birthday the other day.
On Sunday. Thank you. Yeah, my
Did you meet
birthday.
Dina Bandhu?
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay, good.
Yeah, my birthday fell on a Sunday again.
Cool beans.
It
You
was
guys had fun, right?
Yeah.
Oh, good. So right now, they're take what's called prasadam, the spiritualized food.
Yes,
So if you want to come,
to the Lord.
yeah, exactly. So come in and take some. Exactly. So just pop in. It's all vegan too.
I have some snacks at the moment, so I'll just try in a little bit, but I just want to finish these first.
That's cool, but you should take that because it's vegan and it's fresh.
I will.
And it's been offered to the Lord, so consider that.
I also will take that.
That sounds brilliant. I'm thrilled to hear that. Just pop right here. Just walk right to that kitchen. Excellent. People will be thrilled to see that.
Your voice is brilliant.
It's adorable, right? He's my friend Shannon's kid. That's the deal. Huh? See, that's the thing about being on the race. It's actually good. It actually does bring some really good kind people. That's the deal. That's the difference. I think so, at least. I'm gonna get those flowers and put them in the same time.
Okay.